Spirit. And those of us who are Christians, the Bible tells us that the Holy Spirit dwells within us. That is the basis of our spirit. So that's why you have to get to know who you are as a spirit, who you are as a physical being, and who you are as God. Because if you do not know who God is in your life, the spiritual side of you, you miss half of who you are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. So that is why I decided to really coach and teach around the concepts of relationships, because you have to have the whole spectrum in order to have a better life. And one of the caveats to, not really caveat, but really another side to it is a lot of you guys are here because you want to improve the quality of your life, you want to start businesses, you want to encourage other people, start, encouraging and motivating other women. And that's all related to your purpose, right? But how do you know your purpose if you don't have a relationship with yourself?
Yes.
How do you know your purpose if you don't have a relationship with God? And how do you know your purpose if you don't have a relationship with the people that you want to serve?
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you create healthy relationships? There are three main components to healthy relationships: intimacy, trust, and communication. Intimacy, trust, and communication. So I want you guys to talk back to me here. What's the definition of intimacy? Don't all talk at once. Closeness, okay. What else? One other definition. Feelings? Understanding. Usually when we talk about intimacy, we really think about intimacy on a physical level, being intimate with our lover, being intimate with our husband, and that is just one aspect of it. And I want you to write this definition down of intimacy that we're going to really talk about. The definition is a close association with or detailed knowledge or detailed understanding of a person, place, or subject. I'll repeat that. Intimacy is a close association with a detailed knowledge or detailed understanding of a person, place, or subject. So in order to be intimate with yourself is to know yourself, have deeper knowledge of who you are. In order to really be intimate with yourself, you have to associate with yourself. That's why it's important to spend time alone. That's why it's important to meditate so that you can listen to your spirit, listen to your intuition. That's intimacy. Okay? Second definition, trust. What is trust? Anybody? Don't all speak at once. Feeling safe, yes. One other definition. What is trust? Yes, ma'am.
Relying on someone.
Yes, I
Wow,
love that.
awesome.
I love that. So I want you to write this. Yes, give her a hand, you guys.
Damn on them.
So I want you to write this definition down of trust. Trust is the reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. Trust is the reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. So when we talk about building a relationship with yourself, do you trust yourself? How do you learn to trust yourself? How do you learn to trust God? How do you learn to trust other people? By looking at the character, their character traits. By looking at their ability or your ability to fulfill your needs. By looking at their moral strength. And then by looking at the truth of the situation. Look at the truth of who they are. Because oftentimes, we don't even see ourselves in our true nature. I was just telling Kelly earlier today that sometimes I don't even see myself the way others see me. I'm always surprised when people say, oh, Sharika, you're this and you're that. Like, really? I'm just regular. But then my other good friend, she's like, girl, you are nothing regular about you. Okay? And so even for myself, I have to remind myself the truth of who I am and the gift and the purpose that God has created in me. I have to remind myself of that. So when we talk about building relationships with yourself, it is an ongoing process. It's a journey, it's not a destination. So learning to trust yourself, learning to trust the Spirit of God within you, and then you're better able to learn to trust other people. The third thing, communication. And we all heard communication, right? What's the definition of communication? Yes, ma'am.
Expressing yourself.
Expressing yourself. What else?
Sharing ideas.
Sharing ideas. Clarity.
Being open and honest.
Open and honest. Some of the definitions you guys have given me are actually traits of communication, not exactly the definition of communication. So I want you to write this down. Communication. It is the interchange of thoughts, opinions, and information. It is the interchange of thoughts, opinions, and information. So communication, you can communicate honesty. You can communicate clarity. You can communicate your feelings. Communication is the interchange. So it's not just about you putting out, it's about you being open to receive. Communication. Do you talk to yourself? Faith comes by hearing. You hear with your mouth. The person that you listen to the most is yourself. Do you talk to yourself? Do you pour back into yourself? The exercise we just did here earlier today, you spoke with your mouth so that you can hear what you need to hear, so that you can believe what you need to believe about yourself. Do you talk to yourself? Do you communicate with yourself? Do you allow the Spirit of God that's within you to communicate to you by listening? Make sense, you guys? Mm-hmm. So I give you all this information as a foundation of really understanding what it means to love yourself. Because you cannot love yourself if you don't have a relationship with yourself, if you don't develop intimacy with yourself, if you don't learn to trust yourself, if you don't learn to regularly communicate the information that you need to communicate to yourself so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. So when we talk about self-love, what is your definition of self-love? What does it mean to love yourself? Accepting who you are. What else? Yes, ma'am.
Being okay in your own skin.
Being okay in your own skin. I love it. One more definition. Ma'am? Being truthful to yourself. Yes. Here's my definition. I want you to write this down. Self-love is the instinct by which your actions are directed to the promotion of your own welfare and well-being. The instinct by which your actions are directed to the promotion of your own welfare and well-being. Self-love is natural, you guys, but we make it so hard. It's an instinct. We were created to love. And when you love yourself, it's your intentional actions towards yourself for your own welfare and your well-being. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I have actually broken up self-love into 3 different levels. Because again, this is a journey that we're on. And the topic of today's discussion is to love yourself to the next level, which means there are actually different levels of love. You know, when we talk about the Bible, you know, in the Bible, when we use the word love, in the original version of the Bible, love actually had 3 different meanings, right? There was I think there's agape love, there's brotherly love, and there's the eros love, which is like erotic love. So there are actually 3 different levels to self-love. The first level, I call it puppy love. Mm-hmm. And puppy love is really only skin deep. That's when you only love yourself, you're only nice to yourself, you only listen to yourself when everything in your world is right. Mm-hmm. Self-love is easy at this level when you wake up in the morning, you feeling good, you all energetic, and you know, the birds are singing and the sun is shining, and you know, your mom called you last night, said, baby, I love you. You are just the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It's easy to love yourself when everything is right in your world. But as soon as something happens, you trip up and you stump your toe, you cussing out your toe. You, I know I ain't the only one who done that, right? You go and get your eyebrows done, and then, somebody mess up one of your eyebrows. you don't want nobody to see you. Or you gain a few pounds and you like, I hate my hips, I hate my stomach, I hate my arms. Is that self-love?
No.
It's a form, it's a puppy love, because puppy love is fickle, right? Just like when we were, 12 or 13, we thought we was in love with the boy in the 7th grade or 8th grade. And, it's just puppy love because we really didn't understand the depths of love. So some of us right now are at that puppy love level. We only can love ourselves when the sun is shining. We don't love ourselves when the rain is pouring down. Kelly earlier, she had tears, and I wanted to say this earlier, and I know someone in the room needs to say this, because I have, sometimes I struggle with this as well. We don't allow ourselves to cry. Why? Because we think it's a sign of weakness. But do you know that allowing yourself to cry is a form of love? Allowing yourself to cry is a form of strength. When I think about that, when I think about strength, see, when we normally think about strength, we think about big and strong, right? Like stoic. But when I think about strength, I think about the Hoover Dam. The Hoover Dam is one of the most magnificent engineering feats in the United States. But what does the Hoover Dam do? It not only holds back the water, but it also lets the water flows when it needs.
Yes.
That's strength, baby girls. Allow yourself to cry when you need to.
Oh,
Don't you start crying now, girl. I'm
like,
kidding. You can
okay,
cry. You can
I'll
cry.
cry.
Where's the network? She needs tissue. But I wanted to pour that into you because we oftentimes hold back our tears, thinking that, oh, I don't want to be weak, thinking that I don't want somebody to judge me. However, you have to be about you at times. You have to take care of you and allow yourself to do the things you were designed to do, and you were designed to cry. So cry. I cry all the time. Okay? All right, the second level of love I like to call sisterly love. It's kind of similar to brotherly love. And this level of love is when we do more things. So you guys have heard of the 5 love languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the 5 love languages? Words of affirmation,
acts
of service,
touch,
physical touch, quality time, and gifts.
Gifts. Yeah.
Now, there are more women in this room here today that shows one or more, probably all 5 of these love languages to yourself. Who buys themselves gifts? Who spends time with themselves? I was going to say touch themselves, but in a non-sexual way.
Oh.
Right? I mean, if you do touch yourself in a sexual way, then yeah. Acts of service. Do you actually do things for yourself, like go get yourself a massage or a manicure or pedicure, getting your hair done? Yeah. And then words of affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is the level of love that most of us are comfortable at. This is the sisterly love, because these are the acts that you not only show to yourself, but you show to other people as well. We talk about our romantic relationships, right? We talk about knowing what the love language is of our romantic partner. We talk about knowing the love languages of our best friend or our children. So this is the level of love that most of us operate in. But I want to encourage you to go to the next level of love, which I also call, you're familiar with this, unconditional love. Unconditional love is one of those things, when I asked this in another workshop I did, the unconditional love, we always go to 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind. We quote all this stuff, right? But what does that really mean? What does that look like to love yourself unconditionally? To love yourself unconditionally is to show yourself grace. How many of you have ever said, Or had someone say to you, I am too hard on myself?
Mm-hmm.
Are you showing yourself grace? Or you allow yourself to get stressed out so easily. You wake up 45 minutes too late to get to work, and you're just all stressed out, and you're trying to rush to work, you're blowing the horn. You're not moving in a spirit of ease and grace. Unconditional love in all situations, unconditional grace. Allow yourself to make mistakes. That was my biggest lesson too. Because I make mistakes even now. I say the wrong things. I do the wrong things. I show up in the wrong places. And I have to forgive myself. It's easy to ask God to forgive me, because I know he's going to do it. But I have to forgive myself and release those negative feelings towards myself so that I could be in a spirit of grace, so I could show up as the best version of myself. And that's the other side. Forgiveness, forgiving yourself all times, all ways. Because again, you have the Spirit of God within you. That's how you have the ability to forgive yourself. All ways, at all times. But when was the last time you tapped into that spirit in order to forgive yourself? Unconditional love. Prioritizing yourself. I know some of you in here are mothers, single mothers. Some of you in here are givers by nature. I am a giver. I am a caretaker. Some of you are taking care of people, taking care of children, taking care of your parents, taking care of the world. As a coach, sometimes I almost always operate in this state of always taking care of others. But I also have to pull back and prioritize myself, because I cannot serve you if I don't take care of me. You cannot serve the world if you don't first take care of yourself. You cannot pour out of an empty cup. The Bible tells us that we are to love our neighbors as ourselves, which means that you can't love anybody else until you do what?
Love yourself.
So are you loving yourself unconditionally? We walk into these romantic relationships and we're like, oh, my husband has to love me unconditionally, like Christ loved the church. Well, are you loving yourself unconditionally? We put these expectations out there. We're saying all these things, these words, without really understanding what it means and first applying it to yourself. Are you showing yourself the same grace that God shows to you? Are you showing yourself the same forgiveness that God shows to you? Are you showing yourself the same care that God shows to you? Unconditional love. That's where you want to show up. That's where you want to be. That's how you show up as the best version of yourself. Because all of us wants to grow. All of us want to do big and great things. But you cannot do it until you learn to love yourself powerfully, and love yourself unapologetically. Unapologetically. I want you to write that down. Unapologetically. I forget, I was somewhere the other day, and I noticed every time I ran into someone, either one of us or both of us always said, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Right? We say I'm sorry so much. Instead of saying, well, you shouldn't have walked into me. You don't want to be rude about it, right? But oftentimes, we have to stand in who we are. Because when you develop that relationship of intimacy, of trust and communication, knowing who you are, knowing your character traits, knowing the gifts that God has given to you, you stand firm, baby girls. You stand firm. And you are unapologetic about being a business owner, unapologetic about being loving, unapologetic about being strong, unapologetic about being uncompromising, unapologetic about holding your standards high. Unapologetic, because that is who God made you to be. That's how you really show up and serve others. You cannot serve others. I cannot serve you if I came up here to this stage and was like, I'm sorry, you guys. You know, I just got here this morning. I'm so tired, and, I don't even feel like loving myself today, so. Would y'all listen to me? You won't. So how can you raise your children if you're apologetic about being a parent?
Right.
How can you be a volunteer in the community when you're apologizing to your friends when they ask you to go out at the last minute, but you already committed to volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club, or committed to volunteering at church, or committed to being something else, or even committed to spending Saturday only to you? We say I'm sorry so much, but I want you to learn to stand in your power and say, you know what? I actually had time blocked off of my schedule today from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. because this is my time. And I'll apologize I'm not able to go with you at this particular time. However, maybe we can do something next week. See, being unapologetic doesn't mean you're rude, doesn't mean that you just blow people off. It means you hold firm to what you said you were going to do when you said you're going to do it, prioritizing yourself. I'll give you an example. I had a coaching client once, and she struggled with her family members coming to her asking her to babysit all the time because she was in school and she had children of her own. Like, well, you're at home all the time, just babysit my kids for me. And so she called me and she's like, I can't get my studying done because my sister and my other sister always come to me and say, I need you to watch my kids. They always do it at the last minute. What can I do? Say no. Easier said than done, right? Why? Because we haven't practiced being unapologetic. So if you have time blocked off where you need to study, you have time blocked off for you to work on your business, you have time blocked off where you just need to sleep, because, honey, I get tired too. Just say no and say, you know, I'm so sorry, I'm unavailable today. However, if you want to do something next Wednesday, next Thursday, you want to go out on your date next Tuesday, I'll be available at that time to help you do whatever it is you want me to do. You see how that works? You're standing in your own power, respecting other people, and you're teaching them to love and respect you. Make sense, you guys? Yes. All right. So where do we go from here? Any questions before I go on? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to touch on what you just said about being able to say no to people, because that's an issue that I had before in the past. Like, I would just say yes. Even though I didn't want to do it, I would say yes. Just because I would think, like, I didn't want to make the other person mad.
Yes, yes.
And now that, it's so funny, a client of mine, she's 80-something years old, she says, Tash, girl, you just got to say no. You know? And I think sometimes that comes along with age as well. You know, you get older, you start to learn who you are and everything, and learn how to put your foot down or whatever. But so now when I say no, you get labeled that B word. You know, when you tell people no, it's, oh, now you will. You know,
But that's okay. You want to know why that's okay? Because you don't want to be associated with anyone who disrespects your time. See, here's the thing. When we say no, we become unapologetic about who we are, you're going to lose some people. But when you become unapologetic about who you are, those people don't need to be in your life anyway, because they cannot support you on the journey that you are on.
They were just using you.
They were just using you. They were just using you. Or maybe they're not intentionally using you. They're just so used to you saying yes. They're so used to you being available. They're so used to you always giving them money that when you say no, you rock their world. You rock their world. And then, so what if they label you a B? Or they label you as bougie? I tell people, I am bougie. I have high standards. I like nice things. Right? I'm okay with being bougie. That's what you think I am. I mean, I'm okay with that. Because if you cannot respect the higher journey that I choose to be on, if you cannot see yourself going on a higher journey, then what in common do we really have?
That's right.
Because while God created us for relationships, we just can't be tied to anybody. That's why you have to be careful who you date. That's why you have to be careful even who you hang out with in your family. You have to choose your relationships wisely. But y'all, that's a whole nother topic. But I do want to say this, that don't be afraid of people judging you. So what? Unless they're paying your bills, unless they're in your bed at night, so what? Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question about your sisterly love. There's about 5 words.
Yes. And when you were asking all those questions, I didn't raise my hand to any of them. So how do you go from never take care of you to do it? Yeah. So one of the ways to easy starting point, physical touch. And I love this particular exercise because physical touch usually makes anybody feel good. So a couple of things you can do. At the end of your day at night, get some lotion in your hand and rub your feet. Rub your feet. Take your time and rub your body. Thank you, God, for my body. Oh, my skin's so soft. So as you're touching yourself, love yourself. Okay? And also, one thing I did want to say too is, love isn't just an action, it's a feeling, right? We always talk about love as an action, but it's also a feeling. So when you're touching yourself, like when I touch you, can I touch you? When I touch you, it's a gentle touch. Hold on to that feeling and get to that feeling when you're by yourself. Touch yourself in a loving way. Speak to yourself. You know what? You are so beautiful. In that same tone. You know what? I do love me. I'm okay with me. Make it a practice of touching yourself, of speaking those kind of words to yourself. And the easy way to do it, I believe Kelly has this in her book as well, is the mirror exercise. So stand in front of the mirror and say, my hair shows good. Stand in the mirror and see yourself until you feel love for yourself. And love is a feeling that sometimes you can't always put into words, right? If I would tell you right now, close your eyes and feel the love for yourself, what would that feel like? For me, that love feels warm. For me, that love feels like this. For me, that love feels relaxing. What does that love feel like to you? Whatever that love feels like to you, that's where you need to focus on learning to love yourself more in that moment. So if it feels like this to you, hold that feeling. If it feels like this to you, hold that feeling. If it feels like I love you, I really, really love you, and how that makes you feel, you hear those words, hold on to that feeling. Does that answer your question?
Awesome.
Any other questions? And that was a great question. It's actually where I wanted to go to next is take the time and ask yourself, where are you on that self-love spectrum? Are you at the puppy love stage? Are you at the sisterly love stage? Or are you at the unconditional love stage? And what do you need to do to get to that next level? If you think you're even at the unconditional love stage, how can you go deeper into that? Where you're at that stage on a consistent basis. Because oftentimes our love ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes we're really good for about 3 to 6 months. Then something happens, we drop back down to the sisterly love, and we drop back down to the puppy love. Mm-hmm. So what do you need to do today to up your self-love to the next level? It makes sense, you guys? Any other questions for me before I turn the mic back over? All right, well, I want to thank you so much for listening to me today, okay?
Isn't she awesome? Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
So we're going to keep this going. I want you to do an exercise that's going to really speak to self-love.